We checked today and 216,000 people are on the state's out of work list. Many are looking for work, so why are state prison inmates who are supposed to be serving time for doing the crime holding down jobs?
Well, we've always been told it's because companies can't find enough workers. Fox 11 on special assignment first told you about the state's work release program in November, and that's when the state refused to tell us where the inmates were working. But we stayed on the story and fought for the public's right to know, and tonight Robert Hornacek has new information about where prisoners are working and why.
According to the Department of Corrections, there are 145 prison inmates working at 20 employers in northeast Wisconsin. Where? Initially, the Department of Corrections refused to tell us, saying there were security concerns about the public knowing the names of the employers in the program. But we stayed on the story by filing an appeal. The DOC changed its position and provided us with a list of employers, but placed strict security limits on the list. From the list, we did some of our own research and found that most of the inmates are punching the clock at area manufacturing companies, while some are working for a nonprofit and even a local university. We began our investigation 4 months ago. Fox 11 on special assignment wanted to know how inmates could be working at a time when so many other people were out of work.
Are the inmates who work out of this institution taking jobs from people on the outside?
No.
Susan Ross oversees 2 work release sites in northeast Wisconsin. She told us inmates are only allowed to take jobs when employers can't find anyone else.
What's done to ensure that those inmates aren't taking jobs from folks on the outside?
We work closely with companies to determine what their recruitment efforts are for civilian employees. That's one of the first questions we ask when we're approached by a company, asking if we've got any inmates that would be able to work at their facility.
We found it's not just companies in the program. One inmate works at UW Green Bay.
You're the guy that keeps the campus clean.
I'm the trash man, yes.
Tom Koch is 18 months into a 2-year prison sentence. The former lawyer was convicted of theft for stealing more than $2 million from a business client to feed his gambling addiction. While he serves out his sentence, Koch is on work release, making $8 an hour cleaning up the UW Green Bay campus.
There are a number of rules. You know, I'm not ever allowed to go inside any buildings. I'm not allowed to interact with students, and I would never try to do that anyway. I just go about my job, and I'm very happy to have it.
UW Green Bay is happy to be part of the program.
This is their last step before they come out and go into the real world. So we're giving them a chance to slowly phase back into society. So, you know, being a learning institute, that's what we'd like to do, so we're helping with their rehabilitation.
Supervisor Mike Van Lannen says one job on campus is reserved for an inmate. He says it's been that way for 20 years, ever since prisoners were brought in to clean up after Bayfest.
What's the benefit to UW Green Bay of having an inmate do this work?
The benefit to us is we have a person that's here every day doing the same job all the time. With that, I have consistency. We do pay minimum wage to the inmates when they come out and they start, and we don't have to pay any of the benefits. So it's a cost savings for the taxpayer.
But that's just one job. What about the other places inmates are working? Of the 20 employers in northeast Wisconsin on the list, 9 of them, like UW Green Bay, have 1 inmate working. The majority have less than 5.
Many of the jobs are entry level. They are minimum to lower wage paying jobs.
Mary Kay Sergo from the DOC says the work release program helps both the community and the inmates by giving the inmates skills they can use when they're released.
We have an obligation as part of our mission to provide them with opportunities so that they have job skills and employment opportunities.
According to the DOC, the largest northeast Wisconsin employer in the work release program is Aaron's, a snow thrower manufacturing company based in Brillion. As of December 20th, the state told us Aaron's had 77 inmates working. A spokesperson for Aaron's declined our request for an on-camera interview for this story, but on the phone told me that seasonal employment ended in mid-January. The company currently has no inmates working. In the past, the company has said it has a hard time filling some positions. A statement the company gave us in November said, quote, "The work release program has been a good solution for Aaron's to fill some of its seasonal short-term needs for employees which fluctuate throughout the year." The statement went on to say work release employees fill only jobs that Aaron's had not been able to fill through traditional means. The next largest employer on the list is a manufacturer in Shawano with 14 inmates, followed by a meat processing company in Green Bay with 9. Neither company responded to our repeated requests for interviews. The next largest employer on the list, PMI, did talk with us. The company that runs the Resch Center has 8 inmates who work the overnight shift. They are paid $8 an hour to clean up and set up for events.
The shift normally starts later in the evenings, usually on a Friday or Saturday night, and we've always found it really challenging to try and find people who would want to work those hours, normally at 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. and maybe 2 or 3 days a week, and very sporadic because it's based on when the events are in the complex.
Some businesses like PMI say they hire inmates because they can't find enough workers. Goodwill in Appleton, on the other hand, is part of the work release program for a different reason.
Our first corporate value is that we put people first. And when you're bold with a statement like that, it's not we put people first, ... all except for these guys.
According to the state, there are 5 inmates working for Goodwill. They work at the Shiner Center, Goodwill's warehouse in Appleton. CEO Bob Peterson says Goodwill's mission is to help people in need, including prisoners.
What we're trying to do is to contribute to a healthier community. We're trying to make sure that people are given a genuinely good shot at rehabilitating and return them to the community as productive citizens.
Still, some people question whether the work release program makes sense right now, when so many people are unemployed. Tony Vanderblumen is the president of the Greater Green Bay Labor Council.
And I think it's a good program at the right time. This is not the time to hire prisoners.
Vanderblumen says there are too many people outside of prison who are out of work, and companies should be hiring them first.
These companies would pay a decent wage. They would get people off the unemployment rolls and they would go to work.
What would you say to people who not necessarily criticize the program but criticize the timing of it, saying, yeah, that's great when unemployment is low, but not now?
So again, I would offer that oftentimes what we hear from the employers who are engaged with the program is that they don't have an adequate pool of applicants, and so they would continue to work with this particular program.
Jim Golombeski is with the Bay Area Workforce Development Board, an organization that helps with job training. He doesn't think inmates are taking jobs from other people.
In this day and age, with unemployment being what it is and the economy being what it is, how can companies not find employees and have to resort to hiring inmates?
Because companies, I mean, I had a guy the other day from an area company and who told me some of the struggles he was having. And the struggles he was having was to find people who would work second shift and weekends. And I said, how come you can't find those people? And his response was, people don't want to work that hard.
Golombeski says work release inmates are often ideal employees who show up on time and are excited about work. He adds that the best way to show inmates are not taking jobs away from other people is that companies in the program are still hiring. At Goodwill, which has more than 20 locations, Bob Peterson says there are 50 job openings at any given time. As for PMI, the 8 inmates work alongside 10 regular employees, and the company says it's always looking for people to hire. And at UW Green Bay, it's not just an inmate keeping the 779-acre campus clean. There are also 7 state workers and 10 students who work part-time. There's also a financial benefit of the program. While the inmates are making money, they don't just get to go put it in the bank. Last year, the state collected more than $4 million from inmates on work release. $3.2 million of that went to cover inmates' expenses like room and board, food and travel, and nearly $1 million went to pay for the inmates' child support, for restitution and court costs.